Fantasy Football, College Football Live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Ben Heisler, boss man Blake Follis is here. He is dancing for some reason on the other side of the screen. Maybe it's because you've had two really good weeks, and the people that are challenging
because I'm good at this game.
Oh, okay.
I'm good at this game.
All right. Well, you're here for a reason. And by the way, for those of you guys that are watching and maybe only have time to watch a little bit of it, we will post this entire show on our podcast page as well. Anchor.fm/FSM is where you can find us. For all of your podcast needs, don't forget this show also airs Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time with myself and Justin Fensterman for FSM Football Sunday. But Blake, we got another big top 25 slate over at Fantasy Sports Markets. Once again, a lot of moolah on the line, particularly with our $5 Wonelli contest.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to give you $5 as a watcher, listener, enjoyer of our games. CFB 18 will get you $5. No deposit required. Enjoy a free play on us. And if you so like to, save that $5 and go for the next 5 weeks and try to beat me on that $1 play.
That's true. That code is now on the screen, CFB. There should be an 18 in there. I'll go ahead and fix that. CFB 18 for $5 over at fantasysportsmarkets.com. You can enter in that $5 Wonelli contest where if you get a perfect roster bonus, it could be $100,000. But, like you said, you can do 5 weeks of trying to beat Bossman Blake. It's a $1 contest. You double your money if your entry beats his with $10 to first place. The quarterback position, I figured, Blake, with the success level that you had last week playing Mackenzie Milton, that you would be back on the Mackenzie Milton train. But no such luck this week. Why not?
Not so fast, my friend. I think this is actually kind of a quiet trap game, and you and I had discussed it the other day off air. I think SMU is a team that's terrible, but they get really good sometimes, especially in conference. I watched them throughout the years and in history of their leagues, and I used to live in Tulsa, so I'd go to a lot of TU Hurricane games back when TU was pretty good. But they always would show up with a relatively lackluster team. This is like the June Jones era, like not supposed to be phenomenally good, but would show up and play really hard. And they took teams to the brink. I think with this weekend, the line is somewhere around 24-ish, give or take. And that one's going to be, I think it's going to be closer than what it needs to. And I don't know what they'll do. They may sink all of their chips on Mackenzie Milton and make that a hard play. So with that knowledge intact and in my head, and I'm expelling it to you through my mouth, I like the guy from Bama. What's his name? Tua Tagovailoa. Say it, Ben. What's his name? I don't have you on. You're not coming through my audio. Ben,
wait,
did you mute me?
What about now?
Oh, you muted me. You muted me the whole time.
No. You weren't muted. I was muted because I was looking stuff up. Tua Tagovailoa is how you say his name, or in the Harry Gary voice. Running out number 2, Tagovailoa. No, Tua Tagovailoa is the starting quarterback for Alabama, but you do like him this week.
I love him this week. I think the matchup with Arkansas and how terribly Arkansas is these days.
Not just terrible.
Whatever
they're terribly.
They're bad. They're not good, Cotton. They're bad stuff. The line's 35. The over/under is 57.5. Ugh. I like the Tua man. And the other player that I really like going up against the suspect defense is my man Will Grier. The chickens are coming home to roost on the Jayhawks, and luckily for them, basketball season begins October 25th, playing Emporia State in a nice little exhibition game. The other quarterbacks, and this is actually one of the hardest positions that I went through the process of picking. I do like Mackenzie Milton, but not enough to outweigh Tua and Grier. So, yeah, if you feel like rostering him, by all means. The other 4 that I actually picked out for people to consider are Ryan Finley with North Carolina State. First time North Carolina State's in the top 25 for the season. I also like Dwayne Haskins going against your Indiana Hoosiers. In fact, I think he's the only player that I would really consider rostering out of that game. Sorry, Stevie Scott's not going to get the points.
No, and I tried to warn you about Stevie Scott going up against Michigan State, and you wanted to roll out, you wanted to stay on that bus, and unfortunately that bus just kept on driving directly into a cement wall.
Yeah, and right over my face. But the other two people that I like, one other guy who's showing up for the first time in the top 25 is Steven Montez with Colorado.
Okay.
He's got some nice credentials. And Ian Book from Notre Dame. This one I actually went back and forth on because he really impressed me last week against Stanford. And I think that guy's going to do some things for the Notre Dame team and Brian Kelly going forward.
Those are interesting picks. Certainly intrigued to see how they do. I don't necessarily look at it for UCF as a trap game. It's a Saturday night home game. Usually I sort of look at those trap games as those early starts on the road. At least UCF is at home, and Milton's in the midst of a Heisman type of season. You can always go back to Thompson with Mississippi State, who continues to be a top 3 option at quarterback in fantasy sports markets this year. And another intriguing guy, it's Steven Montez for Colorado. I know Arizona State's defenses look good, but he's continued to put up big numbers as well.
The surprising thing on that game, and I was looking at it, it's your over-under is about 64.5. The line's at 2.5.
Yeah.
But the games that they've played, they kind of go either way. Colorado is one of those that's a little bit suspect in that they haven't played a tremendous schedule.
Right.
I think their toughest games really kind of floating around UCLA. And, I mean, they had a nice shootout at Nebraska, but Nebraska's it's not yet Scott Frosted. It's not ready for your opening season for next year. So I like that. It's a great look as far as a matchup goes. Arizona State, they have the surprising win against Michigan State,
right.
But I think they're actually going to be, I don't know. We'll see how that one plays out. I'm intrigued. I don't get to watch a lot of Pac-12 football because it's usually on later than what I stay up, or it's on some Pac-12 network. And Colorado, I'm still kind of like that scorned girlfriend that you left. It's like the meme where the guy's walking with one chick and then she's like, ugh. And then, yeah, that's how I feel about them.
Perfectly
that one,
fair.
That one there. So,
what about on the running back side? A couple of the guys that stand out, once again, Jonathan Taylor has a nice night game opportunity at Camp Randall against the struggling Nebraska Cornhuskers. Benny Snell Jr. is on the road against Texas A&M. That game is projected to be a pretty high-scoring affair. Eno Benjamin is in play for Arizona State when they go on the road to Colorado. So who are you looking at running back this week?
Well, I like Eno. I don't like him enough to go ahead and roster him up again because it's just I don't know enough about those teams really to make an educated.
He is leading all running backs on fantasy sports markets this year with 27.58 fantasy points per game. That's a little bit less than 3 more points per game than Jonathan Taylor, for what it's worth.
Yeah, for what it's worth. But I still think, and if I go back and look at how he matched up against the Michigan State defense, he had 27 yards total. And that can kill you if you are – I mean, again, if I knew Colorado was Michigan State's rushing defense, then, yeah, I'd say completely stay off of him. I don't know that. And so for that reason, I encourage you to roster him on your team if you so choose. I'm going a different route. I like Jonathan Taylor with Wisconsin, and I like Travis Etienne with Clemson. And I think Clemson's got a beautiful matchup this weekend. And with their quarterback kind of coming off the concussion protocol, and you don't really know how that's going to match up, they're probably going to hand the ball off a lot more than what they originally intended to instead of throwing the ball. Because a guy with a concussion, you probably don't want to make him think very much. So it's easier just to, here you go, here's the ball.
Right.
And Wake Forest, Notre Dame put a whomping on them. I think a lot of two other teams actually put a whomping on them. But it's they're a good team, and I think they're going to be a nice matchup for Clemson and Clemson's athletes. The other players that I'm actually considering as far as roster, and I actually flexed one, which is Justin Hill. He's got a matchup with Iowa State. He's historically been pretty good against those guys. Again, Eno Benjamin is the other player, and Myles Gaskin with Washington is the player that I like most of all. I'm not going to hop on the Benny Snell train just because I think Texas A&M at home is going to be a pretty stout defense for him. And, I mean, the guy's going to carry the ball. He's going to try to carry his team, but they do, at least as what they'd shown last week, diversified the carries out a little bit. And if you're going to go all in on a running back, I don't know that you want to share the ball that much.
We actually do have a question, Blake. This is from our buddy Mark of the Buzz. He's got a college football running back question for us. He says we have to choose one of these guys between McMillan, or is it McMillan or McMillian over at Colorado? Either way, McMillan, Hardman at Georgia, or Spielman at wide receiver. So it's a flex play. So Colorado running back and then a wide receiver toss-up between Hardman at Georgia and Spielman at Nebraska. Do you have any intrigue in one of those three guys?
I know his heart's going to go with Nebraska and the wide receiver play there. However, I think if I'm going to go for the solid contrarian play, I'm going to go with Colorado's running back and see how it matches up well with Arizona State's defense. Looking at the at McMillan, he's got 392, 4 TDs. That's not a bad deal. He last weekend actually against UCLA, he had 102 yards, 21 carries, and also a reception for 1 yard. So it's at least a point. I like that one a lot more than the other two options that he's got.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Mark. Hopefully your season continues to go in a positive direction. Any other running backs from the fantasy sports market slate that we haven't touched on just yet?
I do want to. Mark is a Nebraska fan, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah. I know he's a big Seattle Seahawks fan and a Seattle sports fan, but I think there's a Nebraska. Go ahead and mention over in the Periscope feed, Mark. Confirm that you are a Nebraska fan.
God bless you, Mark. If you are, God bless you. Yeah, maybe next year's better.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be worse.
Yeah, well, could be getting blown out by Michigan every week.
Did we discuss if there's any other running backs that we want to discuss before moving on to wide receivers?
No, I've put mine out. So what have you got? Anything at all?
No, I mean I think Taylor's in another really good spot. I think Benjamin is in another intriguing spot against Colorado if you expect that game to go high. A.J. Dillon currently questionable for Boston College on the road at NC State. If he plays, I think you might be able to get him at low ownership. He was somebody that was leading fantasy sports markets points per game for a handful of weeks in the early part of the season. Then they had that loss on the road at Purdue. So if you want to get back on with him. And then Karen Hington, Michigan, once again at home against Maryland that you can certainly run against. So those are a couple names that are intriguing to me. Wide receivers. Your guy, Hollywood Brown, came up big. If you stacked him up with Kyler Murray last week, everything was coming up butters for you.
If you notice, Ben, out of my quarterback picks, I didn't even suggest Kyler Murray this week.
Well, you're an Oklahoma State fan, so you can only do it a limited amount of times before people start asking questions.
I don't know that there's a punch card for using OU players every week, but
Can we get a punch card at FSM? You play 10 contests, get one free. Oh wait, no, we already have free contests.
We do things like that. No, I think the big thing for me is I don't want to go with Red River rivalry. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, the alliteration is not strong in you.
Thanks. But this is a pure fade game because you absolutely never know how this game's going to turn out. And Texas, this is kind of their Super Bowl right now until they are, in fact, back. And, that's where I'm at with it. It's a great game to watch, but hard game to predict. It's a hard game to pick players.
I was going to say even at Oklahoma, then I remembered that it's not really at Oklahoma.
Right. No, it's down in Dallas.
Yeah.
With Big Tex and all that fun stuff. So
there's a couple intriguing plays, sort of maybe off the board that since normally we've been talking about David Sills and Gary Jennings and Arcega-Whiteside and Marquise Brown, sort of the typical familiar names, but because of the top 25 slate this week, you have a few guys that are sneaking in that maybe you don't get a chance to play on a particular week. Shenault Jr. with Colorado is leading all potential scorers this week in fantasy points per game at over 33. You have Greg Dortch with Wake Forest, who gets to host Clemson this week. I'm probably staying away from that because Clemson is going to be out to try and redeem themselves a little bit. But
pretty good.
Put up massive numbers, and you have to anticipate that Wake Forest is going to be playing from behind. So tell me about your wide receivers that you're really into for this week.
I'm going back to my wheelhouse with Tylan Wallace at Oklahoma State. Nice matchup with Iowa State. I think he's going to get plenty of targets, especially Jalen McCaskill departing the team about a week and a half ago. He didn't play Yeah, he's gone. He's no longer there. So with Tylan Wallace being your primary target outside of Johnson and Stoner I think was questionable for a couple. Well, he was last week. But anyways, Tylan Wallace is my man this week. I also like to stack with Tua and Jerry Jeudy. This is the first time that I'm going to roll him out.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you to use Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, this is the week. The other four that I looked at, I like Aaron Fuller with Washington. I like Laviska Shenault with Colorado. And I like, of course, J.J. Arcega. And Paris Campbell is the pair that I would put in with Dwayne Haskins if you're going to go up against that team with Indiana.
I'm going to throw
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm going to throw in a sleeper name this week in James Proche with SMU in that trap game on the road against UCF. If SMU has a chance to win, it's going to have to come through their passing game, and I anticipate Proche to be a part of it.
He's got 31 receptions, 426, and 5 TDs, and he knows how to catch the ball. Yes. So, yeah, it should be a good look. And Cameron Buckley may be another sneaky play against Kentucky for Texas A&M if you really want to go looking for some numbers.
You were talking about Indiana a little bit earlier. There would have actually been one player. He's kind of sort of taken on the slot receiver. He got 13 targets a couple weeks ago, but he missed last week due to injury against Rutgers, which is fine because you don't really have to field a full team to play Rutgers and win. Is Whop Phillier with Indiana. He's turned into a really valuable receiver. Peyton Ramsey, their quarterback, doesn't typically like to throw long. He's always available in the pass game. He is questionable, but that would be another real strong sleeper, especially if Indiana is going to be down from the beginning. And Phillier's getting a bunch of targets in that passing game.
All right. Well,
and his name is Whop. And his name is Whop. W-H-O-P. Moving on to tight ends. Always the dice roll of the picking your fantasy team in college, but you seem to do a fairly good job of identifying talent. But who are you going with this week?
As far as identifying talent, I still like Zach Gentry with Michigan and Caltera with OU. I think Caltera's going to, Cal Soretta, whatever his name is.
Caltera?
OU's tight end, that one. You know me and names. But
Grant Calcaterra with Oklahoma.
That guy.
He is questionable coming into the game, though.
He'd be fine.
He's nursing an undefined injury. Well, that's helpful. Thank you, college coaches.
Jay Sternberger is my guy with Texas A&M. He's been on the light it up track, and you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to pull up his stats because I thought they were super impressive, at least enough for me to go and put him on my roster this week. And his statistics are, drum roll please. Yep. So as before I mentioned, Cameron.
Do a lot better.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Cameron Buckley was who I had recommended as a contrarian play on the wide receiver end, but Jay Sternberger is the guy that you go to for the tight end. He's got 17 receptions for 256, and he's got 4 TDs, which leads the actual Texas A&M Aggies receiving core. And so this guy coming in as a junior tight end, he's doing work, and it's consistent work. He's averaging right at about 3.5 catches per game. And he's floating around the 52, 53 on average for receptions each week. So his 4 receptions come in, 2 against Northwestern State. He's got 1 against Alabama and Louisiana Monroe. But this is looking like a good matchup for him. And I would highly... Do what?
No, I said I don't mind that call at all. I think if you want to have another intriguing target, Jared Pinkney with Vanderbilt has gotten involved fairly frequently in the passing game as somebody that you can go with as well. Ray Martin, if you want to go back to that Boston College matchup against NC State in the early game, he's leading all tight ends on the slate this week in fantasy points per game at FSM. So there are a couple different players that you can feel fairly good about. But again, it's just such a tough position to try and identify consistent opportunities and targets at. So if you're going for someone that you know is going to get in Michigan's tight end, then I completely understand that in Zach Gentry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course. Zach Gentry playing on John Harbaugh's favorite team, position-wise. Let's go to the tight end. We like to line people up on the line.
Make it happen.
We like to run it down your throat and then throw it 5 yards down the field to our tight ends.
Right. Everybody says that John Harbaugh runs this NFL offense. Have you seen what the NFL looks like now? It's not a lot of running and not a lot of those type of goals. It might have been an old school NFL offense, but it's certainly not that anymore.
Bo Schembechler?
Yeah.
That type of deal?
High formation, bull
crap. The other two is I actually like Notre Dame and their little receiving core that they've got, because they've involved both tight ends about every week, and usually one's in the end zone.
They got Mack as one of their tight ends, and they got is it Weisher?
Weisher was the guy that surprised me last week, getting open in the end zone with Stanford. I'm pretty sure that was him too. Yeah. Double check to make
sure.
Tough
matchup though in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech on the road in a Saturday night game on ESPN.
Yeah, well, it's first time going to Va-Tech. We'll see what they do. Hopefully they can keep running this train of success that they're on. But I know Justin Fuentes is going to have. You're one of those
guys that roots for Notre Dame to do well. I tend to enjoy it when they suck.
No, it doesn't bother me either way. I think, and I told you this before, I actually had to tell you my Justin Fuentes story. So when I was in the 4th grade, Justin Fuentes was a quarterback for Union High School in Tulsa. And he was our spelling bee orator. Whoever the person is that just reads the words to you and tells you what they are. It's like, spell pajama. Okay. And then so you go through and do all that stuff. So he was like 4th grade right there. I see him 4 years later when I'm in 8th grade. I'm watching I think it was like Union Jinx or Union Broken Arrow State Championship game in Stillwater. He's up in the stands just hanging out with some smoke show, and I'm like, oh, hey, that's Justin Fuentes. So I went and talked to him for a little while. He was at OU for a period of time and then transferred out to some school in Kentucky. I think it was a D2 school. But I had a business card that my mother had given me in case I got lost. I could just give it to somebody and be like, here, call my mom. But I had him sign the back of that business card. And so there I had it. Justin Fuentes signed that card. And I put it in my wallet. I went to school, and it was like, yeah, I saw Justin Fuentes last week, and one of my buddies was like, what's he doing with his life these days? It's like, I was playing D2 somewhere. I don't know. Somehow ends up on Gary Patterson's staff at TCU, and then just continues to elevate as an OC. He goes to Memphis, has great success, and now he's at Virginia Tech. And that is my Justin Fuentes story for the world to know.
Would he recognize you if you ran into him?
He would probably recognize a comment that I dropped on him, and that was you know the movie The River Runs Through It?
Yes,
I think it's Tom Skerritt, Brad Pitt, and then the other brother that nobody can ever remember because his movie career never took off.
Daniel.
I told Justin Fuentes. Okay, well, I told Justin Fuentes he looked like. Oh, thanks, Ben. No, you just fucking killed us. So I told him.
Now I have to write. Now I have to write explicit on the title of this show. Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly a family show at 12 o'clock, but the whole thing is I sat there and I told him he's not the Brad Pitt brother. He's the other brother. And it's the other brother that never took off. And so that would be where, if at all, he remembered who the hell I was.
All right, so let's use that for our advantage and get him on the show.
All right, next time he's in this area, this part of the country, we'll run him down and see if we can't enter in his press conference. Be like, hey, do you remember this guy?
From Bossman Blake. Bossman Blake gets it done. Also, you guys can get it done over at fantasysportsmarkets.com. I'm going to go ahead and put the promo code right back on the screen. CFB18 for $5 to use at fantasysportsmarkets.com. You can enter it in the $5 Will Nelly contest. That will fill up. It has over the last several weeks, as well as the Beat Bossman Blake contest. It's $1, double your money up to $2. And join us right back here on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. East Coast time, 9 a.m. Central time, when myself and Justin Fensterman will break down the Week 5 slate in the National Football League. Any last thoughts, Blake, before we say goodbye?
That was a terrible Chris Berman. Just wanted to let you know. Your Raiders is usually pretty good. Hey, you know what I'm really... Yeah. I'm actually excited. We've got college basketball about a month away.
Yeah, it's coming up soon.
You know, I'm really excited to hear from Bruce in Manhattan again. That guy and the Sizzler. I don't think you can beat it. It's good stuff.
If we I'll tell you what, if we sell out our opening college basketball weekend, then we'll get Bruce in Manhattan on the show.
Ooh, I'm excited. I wonder if he'll wear the gray suit with purple tie. And
that can be arranged.
We'll see if he can't get that white hair going.
With like the one little like dark spot like right here, like right in the middle.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
One, and then we'll do the GIF with the ice cream coming right in.
Use Boss Man Blake. Try and beat his lineup to try and double your money on FantasySportsMarkets.com. He's Blake. I'm Ben. Join us on Sunday. In the meantime, plenty of contests up at FantasySportsMarkets.com. Use that promo code CFB18 and get on board. We will talk to you guys on Sunday for FSM Football Sunday. Until then, be good.